Today, we'll be doing exactly what we're supposed to be doing on this channel. Exploring, out under the sun, free as a dog, meeting new fans, and experiencing all the dope that North Vietnam has in store for us. Because we're heading off to a cool new place that we've never been to, and up until a couple of days ago, no one that we knew had even heard of. A spectacular little gem of a village tucked away in the northwest mountains of Son La province called Ta Xua. And at almost 5 hours of driving, well over 5 hours if you include rest stops to rest your butt, this is probably not a day trip for most people, although I suppose you really could if you wanted to, but you need to take time to enjoy the sights. We had a lunch invitation with some friends in the city of Son Ta, which you might remember from episode 3. So that was our first stop, get some fuel in the bellies and then head off. And Son Ta is a really great city. It's kinda like a more romantic Venice, Italy. More rice, less pasta, and much less filthy water to make your way through. This was actually my old home before Mama and Papa adopted me. Before I took on my more modern lifestyle that involved taking care of these two dorks. Anyway, it's nice to see the old Casa de Familia again. And just look at this spread. We've got pizzas to placate the round eyes, steamed chicken and chili, like 4 different kinds of salads, steamed sticky rice, and the Son Ta special, bang ta. And look at just how excited I am to get my paws on a little bit of dough quay. After a little more socializing, it was time to take one last photo op, get geared up, and head back on the road. Alright, well, a little more publicity work. I am a sucker for the camera, after all. I mean, when you're this handsome, it's kind of wasteful not to be. And just like that, with a full gas tank and fuller bellies, we were off to the mountains. Bye-bye for now, Nha Quay. I'm sure we will see you again soon. But for now, the road beckons. And as we had to go a little bit off the main trail to go and see our friends, we got to take some pretty interesting back streets to get back to the main road. And when you just punch in city center to city center on your mapping app of choice, you're rarely going to be routed through places like this, and it can just often be a nice change of pace and scenery. A pro tip for those that have the time is, when you see something interesting, take a couple of wrong turns that you know are wrong turns, and after a while, check back in with your map to get rerouted along a more interesting route. They might not all be gorgeous tourist attractions, but you will get to see places that you otherwise never would be able to. And while the big, wide, commie roads are nice, try and get onto some of the smaller ones every once in a while. And I believe this marks the second of 3 provincial crossings that we'll make in this trip. It's also right around here that you can really see the mountains start to pop up in the background. This is also around where the forest starts to get a lot denser and the trees start to overhang the road a lot more. And when it's coming up on 40 degrees, that can make a lot of difference. And if you're smart enough to remember to wear long sleeves on a drive like this, don't be a dump like my intern and roll them up. The skin tone of this numpty had me craving Ta Xua by the end of our trip, which brings up another interesting thing that I had wanted to mention before. The English from the Chinese Ta Xua is actually Sa Xio in Vietnamese, the same X that popped up in the name Ta Xua, the town that we're headed to now. And while Vietnamese, Chinese, and English are far more linguistically interesting than barking, let me put on my nerd hat for a second and explain the X. Vietnamese makes use of a Latinized alphabet called Ta Xua, with this being based off of the famous Ta Latin. And I am sorry about all of the butchered pronunciations, but I am just a dog. Anyway, Mandarin Chinese uses an alphabet system remarkably similar to this called Hanyu Pinyin, or Han language spelled sounds. Both Vietnamese and Chinese make use of this X character for an almost indistinguishable sound. In comparison to English phonemes, it's not quite an S, nor is it quite an SH, but somewhere in the middle. Anyway, the language nerd hat is starting to chuff my curls, so this'll be where the figurative tour guide dog hat comes back on. These wide and flat valley basins make for excellent growing land, but the tall, steep mountains that hem them in are making it hot. Nice views though. Luckily, this is where we start heading up into the mountains proper. You'll notice that it starts to get a lot cooler real quickly. And look at those shades of green. I can't help but think about how peaceful it's gotta be to live out here. I mean, it's gotta be hard work, sure, but so much less honking and smog. And 1,000 lifetimes worth of trees to pee on. But no time for jerking around. We're over 5 minutes in and we're not even there yet. Let's go. No matter your pace, there's 2 things you can't forget. Hydration and greeting the chillins. Oh, right, and I guess there's a 3rd thing you can't ignore, and that's your bladder. But if you find a nice spot to relieve yourself, you're good. Enjoy. And when you're on the road, make sure to enjoy the blue, clear skies while you can, because they never last forever. At this point, I decided to ride up front and make sure there was no lollygagging going on. Sometimes you just gotta be tough with your crew. They'll understand after they get an honorable mention in your acceptance speech for your golden doggy, or whatever the name of the award is that you get for excellency in tour guide dog videos. So a good leader knows to never let their watchful eye go amiss. And I'm pretty sure this will be the final one of these for the trip. In this direction, of course. Now it's this point in the video that I want you to look at me. See that I'm a serious dog when I tell you that as you start getting up into the mountains, the turns become tighter and more frequent, the ups and the downs get steeper, and depending on the size and the age of your bike, you're going to want to take some more frequent stops to let it chill out and cool down a little. Because you might look at this and think, oh wow, it's so nice, it's so chill. And it is, but reality is that it can usually change a lot quicker than we like to accept. So remember that safety always comes first, home slices. But since that's out of the way, check out this pretty fucking lake. You might end up seeing more of this lake later, but that could just be foreshadowing. We'll see. Unfortunately, another reality around these parts is to watch out for landslides. They happen. But with 6 watchful eyes on the road, I'm sure we'll be fine. It was at this point that our map pointed us straight over the mountain, so up we went. And those are power lines over on the left, so there's gotta be something up here. Other than just the nice views, that is. Well, there is a lot of those. It was also right around the point that we met these mountain ponies that the road quality really started to deteriorate. But those are houses up ahead, so we were hopeful that we may have just reached our destination. We had not. But luckily, these awesome local guys were super friendly and happy to help with giving us some directions. They let us know that the road up ahead would just get worse and it would be faster and easier to just backtrack a bit and make our way around. And to try and approach the mountain from the other side. So with that, a quick Yui and we're off. Thanks lads, you were swell. Once we'd made it all the way around the mountain, we took a second try at the climb. And this side of the mountain actually has even better views than the other side. While you can see the beautiful view down into the valley below us, there are a couple of clouds up ahead, because this gem can be very hidden in the clouds. Now we decided this was as good a place as any to pull in for a pit stop, have a quick water break, let the bike cool down and snap some photos, because it was a beautiful view for a couple of minutes. But it's gonna take more than a measly fog bank or a wayward cloud to keep my team down. It's one of those times you gotta just keep on keeping on. Now, our team makes use of a 110cc Honda blade named Kitty Cat, and while we've never come across anything that she can't handle, when doing big mountain trips like this, you might want to consider a bigger bike, like that one. And remember that road for later as well. And as we'd never been here before, we really had no idea what to expect. Maybe it was just going to be a couple of houses, one of which being our homestay. But pleasantly surprised, there was like a real full town up here. Not a very big one, but a town nonetheless. After a little bit of fan outreach, I had the interns cook me up just an almost unsettling amount of barbecue. Most people are really familiar with Korean barbecue, and Vietnamese barbecue is a little different. Instead of directly over coals, the meat is cooked on a hot plate, or a babi, as it's called in some places. And that's it for part 1. Join us next time for part 2, where the sun comes out and we really get to set our eyes on this hidden gem. Later!